Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. These words have significance to me because, as I'm sure many of you are already aware, Wayne LaPierre has stepped down from the NRA. What does that mean, and why do I care? Let me get into it. First, I have to get into a bit of history. I'm not going to bother with the foundations of the NRA, how they've changed over time, politically, all that other stuff. I'm really going to get into something that's a little more recent, and I want to start with the Obama era, starting in 2009. During that time, it was a time of hope and change, as I'm sure many of you remember. A time of decreased confidence in our local law enforcement, a time of increased drone strikes to include at least one U.S. citizen. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is gun rights and gun control. During that time, gun control scare was high. Gun control advocates were pretty sure that a lot of stuff was going to get passed. And so because of that fever pitch, a lot of people were buying guns. Up until our most recent president, many people heralded Obama as the #1 gun salesman of all time. The facts and figures surrounding that are not in question, and it's probably true. In addition, during that time, people were donating to gun rights organizations like crazy, and probably the #1 benefactor of those donations was our beloved and beleaguered NRA. The relationship between the NRA and its chief advertising company, Ackerman McQueen, that was already in place and had been for many years. But as the donations started to funnel in, that advertising agency was taking in more and more cash. I could not say whether it was ethical or lawful. The relationships there are murky, and there are many allegations surrounding it. But what I do know is at the tail end of the Obama organization, or presidency, pardon me, the NRA had a ton of money. The donations that had come in were crazy, and the NRA was sitting on a war chest probably bigger than it ever had before. Obama leaves office, Donald Trump comes in, and now, in theory, everybody who is pro-gun is going to have a heyday. Times are great, everyone's happy. So what does the NRA want to do with all this excess cash? Well, it did a bunch of things, but a lot of them I don't know about, but I do know of two very high-profile things. One, NRA TV. NRA TV was supposed to be kind of the front row poster child of the NRA. They got a bunch of really high-profile individuals to get on there and talk about all sorts of things, some of which had nothing to do with the NRA's core mission. Unbeknownst to many, NRA TV was not run by the NRA. The NRA had precious little to do with it. The entirety of NRA TV was run by Ackerman McQueen. In addition, during that time, the NRA instituted something called Carry Guard, which was their attempt at getting in on the carry insurance world. That later flopped pretty heavily because there were some legal issues with it, but not before it squandered a ton of cash as well. All of this, guys, was to the tune of some financial transactions that didn't seem to hold up to a lot of scrutiny. At least that's the allegation posed by a lot of people. And those who were in the know, those who were closest to the NRA, already knew that things weren't good at the NRA. This was before any of the articles started to come out, the lawsuits started to come out, but it became pretty evident that the NRA had kind of transitioned from a gun rights organization to a funneling your donations into certain people's pockets. The news articles that started to come out around the lawsuit times alleged and accused Wayne LaPierre of all sorts of financial improprieties, including using the NRA to fund family vacations, private jets, lavish wardrobe, and an apartment for his female employee. I don't know any of the specifics there. Those are the allegations. I'll link a ton of articles in the description so you can read all for yourself. So with the knowledge that things weren't being run well at the NRA, there were, at least to my knowledge, at least 2 attempts to oust Wayne LaPierre, to get him out of the driver's seat. both of which failed, which tells me that Wayne LaPierre was not the only rotten egg running around in the NRA. He had enough support on the board and in the company to keep him still there, while two other individuals who were well known and well regarded both got the boot. One of them I'm sure you've heard of, maybe not in this context, but in others, one Mr. Oliver North. Love him or hate him, as far as I can tell, he was one of the individuals who attempted to clean up the NRA, and very unsuccessfully, owing to the fact that he's no longer working there. And guys, I'll tell you, when I watched those ousting attempts happen and fail, I figured the NRA was hopelessly gone. If anybody is in the know, they already know that the NRA hasn't really done anything substantive to help out when it comes to fighting against gun control in the past several years. A lot of really high-profile cases have come and gone that the NRA didn't really get involved in or only peripherally got involved in. A lot of other gun rights organizations kind of grew and stepped into the fray, whereas the NRA seems to be spending most of its time now fighting off legal battles and continuing to do as it's always done in regards to those financial improprieties. I don't think they have enough money to get involved anymore, because when the lawsuits started to hit, the NRA could really not afford to do anything but fight legal battles. The real game changer was when the New York State Attorney General got involved and started to sue the NRA. This was serious. The NRA was originally incorporated in New York State and never moved, and so it certainly gave the New York State Attorney General standing and venue to sue them. And they have been after the NRA doggedly since 2021, when I believe all of this first started. A lot of people on the left saw this as great, finally the end of the NRA, they're going to take a beating. And the NRA has spent a lot of time and money trying to fight this off, to include attempting to file for bankruptcy in 2021, which was an unsuccessful attempt that was not granted. So they continue to fight and probably hemorrhage cash in order to do so, what little they had left. Even prior to all of this, myself and many others stated, either privately or publicly, that we would not give another dime to the NRA until Wayne LaPierre was gone. Cue yesterday, which was Friday, January 5th, I do believe, when Wayne LaPierre actually stepped down. I am hopeful that this is a start of something that can lead to the NRA getting fixed and rejuvenated, but I don't know that I'm betting on it or that I am super hopeful, because the aforementioned rot, I don't think Wayne LaPierre was all of it. I think he was certainly the most visible part of the cancer, but just because you cut off part of the iceberg doesn't mean that iceberg's not still floating around, ready to sink your Titanic. At this point, I'm not ready to go out and tell everybody to rejoin the NRA, start donating to the NRA, or anything along those lines. I'm in the wait and see camp. I am much more interested in giving money and my time and attention to organizations like the Firearms Policy Coalition and the Second Amendment Foundation, perhaps even Gun Owners of America. All of those organizations, near as I can tell, have continued to tirelessly fight for gun rights and fight off gun control. Yes, the NRA has always been the bogeyman for the left. They'll probably continue to do so, and if the NRA does completely crumble, I'm sure the left will probably throw a party. But near as I can tell, that death already happened many years ago, and this is really just the final sign of the NRA collapsing. So my two hopes: one, that the NRA is the phoenix that rises from the ashes and manages to actually once again start doing good work and fighting for gun rights, or that it completely goes away and the other organizations rise to their ascendancy. I guess we will wait and see. Ladies, gentlemen, I don't normally get into politics, but this was substantive, and I think that it bears looking at. Like I said, check the links in the description. If any of this is unfamiliar territory to you, there's going to be a little reading for you down there, and hopefully that'll fill you in. If you're an NRA member and you didn't know these things, it's probably past time that you did. And if you're either an NRA member or former NRA member and you already knew all about this, then hopefully this gives you hope. Maybe not great hope, but a little bit of hope. If you have enjoyed this video, guys, I'd appreciate a like. And if you enjoy content that is firearms, knives, flashlights, other gear stuff related, please do subscribe. I try to put out at least one video a week and a couple of shorts. You may not see a lot of political stuff like this from me just because there are others who do it very regularly and in a very sort of breaking fashion. But like I said, when it's important, I want to get into it. But other than that, guys, if you would do those YouTube things, and I will leave you here. I hope that this news gives you something to hope for. Take care, stay safe. I'll talk to you soon.
Get 'em, Jay.